For most schools, summer vacation is here, that magical time from our youth when most of our best childhood memories are created. That means that our local lakes are jam-packed with revelers, whether we have pleasure boaters, whether we have personal watercraft, whether we have pontoons, or whether we have bass anglers. Our lakes are going to be choked with traffic. And you know what? That's good news if you know how to treat it right, and especially if you're a bank angler. I'm going to show you just exactly what you need to take advantage of the pressure and catch a lot of fish. Stick around. You don't want to miss this one. Got him. Oh, he's not bad. Oh, yeah. Come on, you. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and if you're a kid, summer vacation is officially in full swing. That means our local lakes and fisheries are jam-packed with boating traffic, already on top of the fishing pressure that they were already getting. We got pontoons, we got personal watercraft, we got tubers, we've got skiers. All of that noise creates havoc for the bass, and they just want to leave. But if you know how to take advantage of that pressure, if you know how bass predictably react to that pressure all summer long, then you can find and locate some really great places. It doesn't matter if you've got a great boat that has all the electronics, all the bells and whistles, or if you're walking the bank. You can learn to use that pressure to your advantage to isolate where those bass are going to be and find the ones that are going to bite, because they're very simple setups that we can use. We don't have to use anything fancy, and we're going to go over some of my favorite baits and presentations that I like to use to get those bass to bite. But before we get started, if you like bass fishing content that always tries to be inclusive, whether you fish from a boat or whether you're fishing from the bank, and always thinking about budget because not everyone has a lot of money to spend on bass fishing gear, then this is the channel for you. Click that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, give this video a like. I would really appreciate it. So, here in South Mississippi, the floodgates burst open a few weekends ago. You see here, this is the Big Lake main boat ramp. Now, there are 3 boat ramps on the Big Lake, and they all look like this. Remember, it's only a 640-acre lake, so you can see how much pressure that little lake is getting. It's obscene. As a matter of fact, on some places of the lake, you have to be very, very careful because there's so much other boating traffic. Bad things can happen, so you have to go slow and you have to keep your head on a swivel. But when you find those out-of-the-way places, because bass do not like pressure. They don't like fishing pressure, they don't like boating pressure, they don't like the noise, they don't like the chaos. So they hightail it out of the region. And if they're still there, chances are they're shut down. There is a place right along the edge of the main area of the Big Lake that has some standing timber and about 25 feet of water. Now, you can scan it with your electronics and you're always going to see clouds of bait fish. But chances of getting bite are very, very small in that area because those bass, they're just not feeding because they don't want to deal with all the pressure. But if you go just a little bit further up the lake, you're going to find some areas where the bass are biting. And I'm looking for places that are actually shallow, right up against the bank. I'm looking for shade, I'm looking for cover, and I'm looking for some deeper water access. Places where those bass can slip down and feel more comfortable in just a little bit deeper water. It doesn't have to be 25 or 30 feet. It could maybe just be a couple of foot change. So from the bank, these places are very accessible. And the first thing that I'm using to go after them, well, a topwater frog. This is a Booyah Pad Crasher poppin' frog. This is one of my new frogs. I just got this thing. I like this thing. It's nice and soft. Unlike some other popping frogs that we've featured on this channel that are hard as a rock, that frog is very, very soft and it works amazingly well right up against the bank. I can flip it up under laurel brush. I can fit it in some tight places along some laydowns. And I got this new boat. You guys have seen the new boat, especially if you've seen the video about the new old boat that I bought. And I'm going to do a reveal video talking about how much work I've done onto it. But Last time I was out on the big lake was the first time I took that girl out. And you can see she moves pretty good. So any concerns about her engine, well, her engine runs just fine. So I was heading north. I was racing away from all of the traffic because I knew exactly where I wanted to be. I wanted to be by the bank and I wanted to be in some shaded areas. Now remember, time of day matters because as the sun moves, the shade moves, and as the shade moves, the bass move accordingly. So how the sun is casting shade, always keep that in mind. And on a sunny day, that's great because, well, those bass are going to be setting up predictably. So I got to where I wanted to get, which was a big hydrilla flat. It is only about 3 or 4 feet deep, so we're not in super deep water, but there is a submerged creek channel that runs through it that gives about an extra 4 or 5 foot depth. So that allows the bass to have shade and cover. They're away from all the noise, and if they want to, they have some deep water access. And I'm telling you what, I'm casting right up near the bank. Now what I wanted was for my first fish to be on the Waco rig. You know, we'll get to that in just a second, but I knew that wasn't the deal. What needed to be thrown was this frog. I was in the right area, the conditions were right for it. That's what I tied on, and the very first cast from my boat ever fishing, this was the result. All right, old booyah popping frog. I've gotten some good bites on this. I like this because it's soft. Got him. Oh, he's not bad. Oh yeah, come on you. Boat hopping. Look at that. First fish on the new boat comes with a frog, a topwater frog. Oh, you're not getting me with them hooks, son. Boy, look at that. First fish on the new boat. I appreciate you. He's about 1.5 pounds, a little bit north of 1.5 pounds. Good little fish. Beautiful little fish. Thank you so much. Whew. All right, that's one down. The boat has officially been broken in. Let's catch another one. Okay, so a nice 1.5 pounds, 1.75 pounds bass on the very first cast from the deck of the new boat. That was amazing. That was a lot of fun. And it also told me I was in the right area, making the right choices. It's a great way to fish. Everybody likes using a frog, you know. This is my favorite frog right here, the old chartreuse scum frog, right? Just has the single tail and super, super soft. And the thing I like about this is this never fills up with water and it catches a lot of fish. So I'm in that shallow area and I'm in the right area because those bass are getting away from the pressure. Now, another great tool that I like to use, another bait that I'm using, is a soft plastic jerkbait. This guy right here, just a regular soft plastic jerkbait, gets great bites. And I like to go with white in the summertime. This is the color that works best for me on my fishery. Smoked shad may work great for you. Bubblegum may work for you. But this is what works for me. And I'm telling you what, that slow, steady twitch, and all I'm doing is rigging it weightless on a 4-aught EWG. Remember, the hook is going to be your weight source. So I try to go with a little heavier, more stout hook just to give it a little bit more weight. Even though I'm fishing in shallow water, I still want it to have a little bit of fall to give it that dying shad. And it works great. I catch so many fish in the summertime using that simple method. And I just cast it out there. I kind of let it glide down a little bit, a couple of light twitches to get it to kind of dart. And then I let it fall down just a little bit. You know, I'm not working it as fast as I would a hard jerkbait. I'm kind of working it lazy, I'm kind of working it slow, and I get a lot of great bites doing that. You know, if I'm fishing out in the open, a little bit more away from the shore where those bass maybe have found a deep spot where they can get some privacy, I'm going to do something like this. Now, this is a caffeine shad, probably my favorite soft plastic jerkbait. I just love how that tail works. And I've got this on an 1/8 ounce EWG. It's got the screw lock on it. This allows me to get down to that deeper water. And I like that belly weight because it's going to kind of go down like that rather than sink like a rock if I had rig it Texas style with a bullet weight. So I kind of prefer that. I can still get that float, I can still get that glide, and I'm still getting some good bites. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what's probably the most effective and most used summertime presentation. In fact, it's what summer was made for, and that is a soft plastic worm, such as this Yum Dinger. You know, everybody likes a Yum Dinger. I like these. These are in that smoked shad pattern. This is a great summertime bait that I like to use. I catch a lot of fish fishing that weightlessly or on the Waco rig, which is just a 1/0 light wire EWG. I fold it in half right there, right past the hook, and I press a 1/16 ounce tungsten nail weight right in there. It gives it that belly weight. You know, all you have to do is search YouTube for Waco rig, and you'll be directed to my videos that go into all about that. And it's a great summertime presentation. And of course, another great summertime presentation, especially if you don't have a whole bunch of vegetation, or if you've got some under docks you want to work, or around rocks that you want to work, and it's a good old wacky rig. You know, if you're a bank angler, you know how good these are. Everybody loves a wacky rig because of how effective they are. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick about how I rig these. You know, people say that I've got the hook rigged wrong. It should be going this way and not this way. Well, the reason why I do that is I take the fat end. You see the fat end here? That's going to be the heavier end. So when you're working it, it's going to tend to be kind of like this. And you notice that hook shank actually acts as a weed guard. So whenever you're moving it up and down in the water column as it comes back down, you get a little bit of weed protection. Now, if you want to fish a little bit deeper water, or maybe you want to fish some gnarlier cover, I put it on a skirtless bitsy flip, right? And I turn it into what I call the wacky jig. And it's just a regular wacky rigged worm that you put on those. And it's very, very effective for working around timber or working a little bit deeper water. In case you maybe want to drag the bottom a little bit, it's a great way to catch more bass. And it's a great alternative. But those are not the only worms that I'm using. Another great worm that I'm going to be using all summer long is a trick worm. Trick worms are great in a variety of ways. I work these on a Waco rig almost as much as I use a regular stick bait. But you know what? On a shaky head, there is no better bait. So for me, a trick worm and a shaky head were made for each other. I use it on a wacky rig. Occasionally, Texas rigs catch great fish using it on a weighted Texas rig. But for me, it's best on a drop shot, or it's best on the good old Waco rig. You know, and we can even go so far as to say the old culprit curly tail worms. Very different types of worms. So that's what I like to use. I like to use the stick baits, I like to use the trick worms, and I like to mix in some curly tail worms like the old culprits. From the bank or from the boat, whenever you find those secluded areas, when you find those out of the way areas, and they may not look like much, but I'm telling you, the bass have retreated there. They're finding places where they can get some privacy, where they can get away from all that traffic. And when they get like that, they are more apt to bite. So keep on the lookout for those places. Try throwing those lures there and watch what happens. So there you have it. My favorite way to attack the summer pressure. I use all that boating traffic and all that fishing pressure to my advantage, because I know the bass are going to run away, which puts them in predictable spots, in predictable locations, and they act in predictable ways. When you have that knowledge, you can take advantage of it, and you can catch some really nice bass. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.